Oh, that's right. I heard you work at Netflix. Yeah. Hey, everybody. I work at Netflix. Ha 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 ha. Sometimes I don't even create the memes that we create, okay? Sometimes you guys create the memes, okay? Hey, we tried that. It didn't work. All right, we're gonna do another DHH article. Everybody, I'm gonna pre-warn you. Please put on your critical thinking helmets, okay? Because often you see DHH, you turn off your smooth brain, and you can't think about any word he says. So let's just try to think about this critically together, okay? Smooth brain off. In our quest for making programming simpler, faster, and prettier, no logical fallacies provide as much of an obstacle as we tried that didn't work. Oh, I like this take. I do like this take. Okay. Okay, I think I could like this. I think I could like this. Because honestly, I cannot tell you how many times I've worked with a piece of tech, I've done something, and somebody else said, oh, I've worked with that. There's no way that works. But it does. It does for somebody else. For a different team, it completely works. But for this particular team, it doesn't work. You know what I mean? I've seen it, I've heard it, I've watched people make decisions based on this exact phrase. The fallacy that past failed attempts dictate the scope of what's possible. Just because someone, somewhere, one time attempted something similar and failed, nobody else should try. That lowering our collective ambition to whatever was unachievable by others is somehow good. This is a great phrase. This is a good thing. I think everybody should take a moment and digest this phrase. Even if you hate DHH, you love JavaScript build systems and types and hosting yourself on Amazon and all of those things that DHH stands against, okay? Even if you love it, you should read that and take that. This is a great, great, great phrase. By the way, this article should also be just called Skill Issues. It didn't work for you. There would be no human progress if we all quit trying after any unsuccessful attempt. I think C.S. Lewis talks about this in The Problem of Pain, where he states, what does he say? He says, like, if you were to make some pottery today that resembled something someone made 2,000 years ago, people would look at what you've made and said, wow, that's complete crap, right? What you're making is not good. But the person who first made it 2,000 years ago, what they made was incredible, was out of control, right? Like, this is absolutely mind-boggling what they made because nobody else had ever done it. And so there is something to be said about this idea that when you make something to begin with, right, you just try something, right? You're trying a new path to something, and it resembles something from the past. We look at it and go, oh, that's crap. But is it crap? Let them cook. Let a person cook. You know what I mean? Let Tim cook, okay? This is this fallacy is bad enough when it talks about what hasn't yet successfully been achieved, but it's downright bewildering when it's trotted out to refute the reality of what's already been proven possible. Fair. This is fair. Take the example of building fast modern web applications with no-build JavaScript. This is this new kind of notion that he's been kind of pushing for. We've been running Hey without bundling or compiling JavaScript for 3 years now. You can sign up and view source to see exactly how. We have tens of thousands happily paying customers, and we've made millions in profits from this product. Yet certain quarters of the dev discourse continue to insist what we've done isn't possible. What? Been there, done that, straight up does not work. In HTTP 2, the per request overhead is still very substantial, and there are concurrency limits. Plus, you get waterfalls and inefficient compression. There's no way around bundling for high performance websites today. I think in some sense this is a very fair take. Not this part, but the been there, done that. Sure, you have. I think this is correct. HTTP 2 still has per request overhead. You still have to HPack up your GET request depending on what's going on. You still have concurrency limits. You still are going to run over single connection concurrency issues. Plus, you get waterfalls, inefficient compression. Absolutely, your compression window is smaller. If you're sending a bunch of small files, you simply can't get the same compression if you send one big file, right? If your compression window is 30 kilobits or kilobytes and you're sending 3 kilobyte files, you just simply lose out on huge compression things that could be done, right? Obviously, HTTP 3, a little bit better, but it's not going to be just crazy better. So I think they're both right in this situation. that it depends on how many files you're sending. It depends on how much you're doing. Is a little bit of bundling okay for a production website versus a developer website? I mean, again, I don't think it's a bad idea. It's like insisting your map is correct even after it failed to record the massive mountain you're literally staring at. Refusing to believe reality just because it doesn't comport to your mental model of a world is an intellectual failure state. Dang. Part of that outdated mental map of what's possible on the web includes the notion that no-build JavaScript inevitably leads to slow applications, that you'll drown in a waterfall of requests cascading through your dependencies. Here's the report from Google's web performance tool Lighthouse. Hey, literally gets a 100 out of 100 score on performance. I mean, this is pretty good. 0.4 seconds load time. That's pretty good. Right? Now, yes, that's because Hey is built differently from, say, Khan Academy or Vercel. Ooh, directly calling out competitors. I know there was some heat between Vercel and DHH, and the last person we looked at was yet a I think CTO Vercel. There's a lot. There's some heat, some steam, if you will. The steamogen. We don't have hundreds of dependencies or thousands of JavaScript files. This is another really good point. When you don't use modern JavaScript tools like React, that is just giant amount of JavaScript, this problem does get greatly dwarfed. You know what I mean? Like if you don't have 10,000 dependencies, maybe there is something to this. Now, if you do have 10,000 dependencies, maybe you do gotta, you gotta get after it and bundle it up a little bit. HTMX is one of the easiest ways to avoid dependencies. I think this is, again, if things aren't bloated, the problem of building does not come. Yes. I think we have like a fundamental problem going here, which is that you have one side that looks at web development through the lens of some large framework plus a bunch of dependencies. Then you have another side that looks at web development through minimal, if no dependencies, and building only what you need. And they use, like, Hotwire is very similar to HTMX, correct? So they actually probably remove a lot of JavaScript as it is. So what happens when you have very little JavaScript to send? There is probably something to that. Like maybe both sides are correct. Bundled code cannot be cached. Yes, it can. It's just recomputed bundled code cannot be. But of course, any code can be cached. It's just a get URL with expiries in the headers. So of course it can be. It's just once you recompile, you lose it. Highest perf is from removing features. Yeah, the less probably both are correct in their own scope. I think they're literally, honestly, I honestly think both sides are correct in their perspective, and I don't think you can take either side as the 100%. Does that make sense? Now, I am probably going to always fall into the HTMX web component kind of world where you can create very little. And so for me, the only kind of build system I need is just simply bundling up. I like to use TypeScript. I'm a type guy. I don't see how DHH does it without types. But I will always probably do that. I just love types. It's just for me. It's just always going to be for me. I spent 5 years hating types, loving dynamic JavaScript, and I came back and said, no way. I could be a JSDoc guy. I could be a JS Andy. A JSDoc Andy. I could do that. All right. Making programming better requires a willingness to test your priors. Absolutely. To question your assumptions. To recognize the half-life of facts. Yes, we've built Hey wasn't feasible prior to 2020, before import maps opened the door. So if your mental model of the web is soaked in the possibilities of 2010 through 2020, I understand your skepticism, but please don't let it restrict your ability to appreciate the progress happening right now. Okay. None of this is an argument that everyone should follow us into the glorious no-build future. I have retired from trying to convince anyone who's happily making stuff with other tools that they must change their ways. I'm sharing how we are building Hey, because it not only works, but works exceptionally well for us. Do that, or do with that testimony and technology as you please. I do like this. I do like this phrase. Right? Perhaps even I could do a little bit more with showing you what I like versus telling you what you should use. You know what I mean? I love HTMX, and I'm going to keep on loving HTMX. But also, I think you should use HTMX. I think you should. I think absolutely. I think it's the best. Anyways, but when you're building small teams or even alone, you need all the conceptual compression you can get. Nothing compresses what you need to know, like removing an entire step from the equation. Yeah, I mean, the less you need to think about, the less you need to know. That's always been what excited let's see. That's always. Oh, goodness gracious. Why can't I read that? This my right here is screwing me up. That's always been what excited me about building for the web. Ruby, from Ruby on Rails through Hotwire, through everything. Making programming more effective by reducing the amount of moving parts they have to learn and wrestle with on a daily. Don't get stuck in the mud of complexity. He's a bit of a grug. He's a bit of a grug, right? He's a bit of a grug. You could do that. You could do that. I don't know. Who here greatly disagrees with what he just said? Does anybody have any counter arguments? TJ, you should just learn that chat cannot read. Me, okay. Does anybody have a disagreement? Because when I read that, I think it is correct. I think it is. I think that is a good perspective. Lies that he's retired from convincing people. Fair. I have a disagreement. It was not launched with a Sigma male edit. Okay, that's fair. DHH, again, just needs to have racing cars, music. The HMX Hotwire approach seems good. I like that. Okay, I mean, I think this is a really hard article to disagree with. Again, I just think it's so strange how much, like, maybe it's the photo. Maybe he just needs to change his photo so people don't come in with that preconceived notion ready to just get super upset. But nonetheless, people just get so dang upset and can't even hear what he has to say. Do I think that the no-build JavaScript is terrible? No. I mean, I personally just don't want to use just JavaScript, but I could use it with JSDocs, and maybe I could love it. I could love it. In fact, maybe that's what I'll try next. We could get a little bit of Lua snippets in there. We could get some JSDoc snippets. And we could find something that works pretty well. Copilot works really, really well with JSDoc. Copilot will literally just autocomplete a bunch of stuff for you. You have generics in JSDoc. You literally have everything you need to have a good enough type system. I don't know. Because if you really think about it, there's no guaranteed type safety in JavaScript. You have to use Zod on every foreign object or some validation, some validation enforcer, right? JSDoc is ugly. I actually think JSDoc is pretty. So there you go. There's something that's really pleasing about a nice asterisk-based comment at the top of a function. It makes me feel happy. You know what I mean? It just makes me feel happy. Zod doesn't work with JSDoc. Checkmate. It does. Recheckmate back against you. You can literally do something like this. I know, there's me using TypeScript right here. You can literally do something like type is a string, and then you could have your const foo equals Zod, Zod validate or whatever it's called, other foo. That literally just works, okay? Look, it just works. Type string, it has a foo any because it doesn't know what's happening right here. But yes, that will work. It will enforce it to make it work. Zod can ligma balls. Damn. Anyways, okay. Well, hey, the name is try to have a... Let's critically think a little bit more, okay? As in a community, okay? Again,